So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to lecture number 4 of Science and Technology in this lecture series called Prelims Powerplay 2026. Now, as you all know that we are in our Science and Technology phase as far as Prelims Powerplay is concerned. And we began Science and Technology with biotechnology. We covered major biotechnology themes, then we covered red biotechnology, then we covered green biotechnology. Now, from today onwards, within this branch of science and technology, we are going to start with science and technology in defense. Basically, defense technology, which is part of your UPSC syllabus and features heavily in your prelims examination. Therefore, from today, we are going to talk about India's technological assets in military, okay, or Indian Defense Forces. All right. Now, we have gotten that out of the way. Now that you know from where we will start, let me introduce you with today's topic. And today's topic of discussion is naval assets of India. So all these highly technological assets of India that are applied or used by Indian Navy to project India's power in blue waters or enhance India's blue water capability will be discussed in today's lecture. So we will cover all current affairs, everything with respect to Indian naval assets. Plus, we'll also cover some static topics as well. Now, it is your job to just to revise and memorize whatever we have discussed in today's lecture from the notes. Okay, it is your job to memorize everything from the notes, because your notes given along with this lecture not only contain the information discussed in this lecture, but it also contains some extra information. Therefore, for your prelims, memorize the notes and ask your doubts in the WhatsApp groups in which you are enrolled in. Okay. All right, so enough of the introduction. Let's straight away jump into the lecture. So let's start. So Science and Technology Lecture 4, Naval Assets of India. Now, we have divided this topic or this lecture into subtopics, right? So which subtopics we will cover? Which naval assets we will discover or cover? So number one subtopic would be related to submarines. So we'll talk about submarines. Then number two, we'll talk about aircraft carriers with India. Then number three, we will get ourselves introduced with this concept called blue water capability. Indian Navy has significant blue water capability, which not many nations have. Indian Navy is very strong. So we'll talk about Indian Navy's blue water capability. And in the end, the last topic is miscellaneous. All small current affairs related to Indian Navy, naval assets, defense technology with respect to Navy would be covered in this miscellaneous subtopic. Not that detailed, okay? Nonetheless, we have to cover it because UPSC can surprise you with any MCQ. So we have to cover all bases. All right. So these are the 4 subtopics that we will cover in today's lecture. Okay. So let's start discussing them one by one. Okay. Please pay close attention. Give me your 100% attention because this is important. Questions can be asked in your prelims examination. You have to be prepared. So give me your 100% and let's begin with subtopic number 1, and that is submarines. Now you all are familiar with submarines. Okay, almost everyone is familiar with submarines. Submarines are, well, submersible vehicles. Ships float on water, but because they float on water, they are detectable. Okay, enemies can detect them and take appropriate action. But submarines, well, they swim deep underwater. They surface from time to time, they come up to the surface, but then mostly they float, or we shouldn't use the word float. They basically swim deep underwater so that they remain undetected even in enemy waters. Okay. Now, any navy that has submarines and good quality high-tech submarines, well, their navy has significant blue water capability because submarines can go undetected. They are used for surveillance. They are used for attacking enemies also. Okay, attacking enemy assets as well. Submarines are very important for, well, blue water capability. I'll define blue water capability later, but just for now, just understand this, that to show your strength or to make your navy potent, you have to have submarines. Okay, so let's talk about submarines and submarines with India as well. So submarines. Now, this is what a submarine is. Well, on the surface, it looks like this, but it floats, or like I said, I shouldn't be using this word float, but it swims deep underwater. It's a submersible vehicle. So let's gather some basic information about submarine, because UPSC tends to ask or tends to attack, strike on your basic knowledge also. So we'll gather some basics with respect to submarine technology. So submarines are underwater naval vessels designed for stealthy operations. Stealthy operations means operations which would largely go undetected. Capable of independent submersion for extended periods of time. For many days, this submarine can remain underwater using advanced propulsion and life support system. Propulsion, well, basically the engine of a submarine. Life support system, well, I mean, in a submarine, there are going to be people who are going to manage this submarine. You need food for them, oxygen for them, all these things are not available underwater. So these are called life support systems. Okay. Now, submarines, different features of a submarine. So submarines feature a pressure hull. Okay. So the outer casing of a submarine is a pressure hull. Pressure hull means, because if you are swimming deep underwater, well, a lot of pressure would be there, okay, which would be exerted by the water column above the submarine. So to withstand that pressure, you need a specific material for that, right? So submarines have pressure hull to withstand water pressure, extreme water pressure. Then it needs to have ballast tanks for diving and surfacing. You know, you all know this, that anything that whose density is less than water will float, and whose density is more than water will sink. Yes, submarines use this principle through ballast tanks. So what happens is that whenever submarine wants to float, come to the surface of water, well, it fills this ballast tank with air. When it fills this huge ballast tank in the submarine with air, the overall density of submarine falls and it comes up. When you want to make it sink, go deep underwater, then you fill it with different material that is highly dense. Then it will go down. So varying the amount of material and air in the ballast tank, you can sink and swim. Okay, so this is very important for submarines. Then, well, it needs an engine, propulsion system which will power it to move forward. Okay, now remember this, propulsion system is of two types. One is called diesel electric. That means it uses diesel electric engines. So you have to burn the diesel to power the electric motor, and that would work. These are simple submarines. But then there are nuclear reactors. Some submarines are powered by nuclear energy. You have a micro nuclear reactor that will produce energy, that will give that energy to the submarine to move forward. Okay, so there are two types of engines, diesel electric, nuclear engines. Okay, and there is a specific advantage of nuclear engines. I'll tell you all about it. All right, so yeah. Now, based on the propulsion system and many other features, there are different categories of submarines. Okay, types of submarines. Now, one is diesel electric submarines, like we have discussed. They are called SSK. They use batteries for submerged stealth, ideal for coastal defense, and well, examples are German's Type 214 and India's Scorpion class submarines. These are diesel electric. Then there are nuclear powered attack submarines. These SSNs use nuclear engines. Unlimited submerged endurance for hunting ships and other submarines. Now, one thing you need to know about nuclear submarines. Well, nuclear submarines are considered to be better than diesel electric submarines. And why? Very simple reason. Well, diesel electric submarines involve burning of diesel to produce energy. And you all know that in the absence of oxygen, you cannot burn anything. Oxygen is a supporter of combustion. To burn anything, you have to have oxygen in the atmosphere. Now, deep underwater, you cannot find air, okay, to burn this diesel. So what happens is there are air tanks, and from time to time diesel electric submarines have to come up to the water, surface of water, take in more air and then go underground. So one flaw of diesel electric submarines is that it has to resurface from time to time. Clear? But in nuclear submarines, that is not required because they don't need any air. They produce nuclear energy through uranium, okay, nuclear fission. So they can stay deep underwater for 32 years. They don't need to reach up to the surface of water for 32 years. But they do reach because life support systems need that. Humans need food and all. That is why. Otherwise, they can stay deep underwater for many, many, many years. Okay, now this makes them really undetectable, because when diesel electric submarines have to surface up, well, they can be detected by enemies, but not in case of nuclear submarines. So therefore, the country which has more nuclear submarines, well, it has more bigger capability of stealth operations, stay undetected and conduct all your operations. So this is the advantage of nuclear submarines. Okay, now nuclear submarines that can carry nuclear missiles as well are called ballistic missile nuclear submarines, SSBN. Okay, carry nuclear SLBMs missiles for strategic deterrence, like India's Arihant class. India's Arihant class submarine is SSBN. It has a nuclear engine, plus it can carry nuclear missiles. Then submarines, nuclear submarines that can carry cruise missile. There is a difference between ballistic missile and cruise missile. So cruise missile is called SSGN, and USA has that. India does not have any SSGN. Plus then there are small submarines, midget submarines for small operations, very small submarines, okay, capable of carrying 2 to 3 people only. Okay, these are the types of submarines. Yes. Now remember, I told you that nuclear submarines are superior to diesel electric submarines. Yes, the only advantage of diesel electric submarine is that it is easier to construct it. Okay, it is technologically simple and it has a low cost. That's the only advantage. Otherwise, in every other area, nuclear submarines are superior. Here is a brief comparison of diesel electric and nuclear submarines. So propulsion, we all know diesel electric, nuclear. Well, it can stay submerged for longer periods, nuclear submarine. It has a higher speed. Plus, when a submarine is deep underwater, you cannot detect it. But there is an instrument to detect it, and that is sonar. If your submarine is emitting sound waves, it can be detected by the enemy. Diesel electric submarine is noisy. Nuclear submarines are silent killers. So all the more reason for you to have nuclear submarines, because they can stay silent. It is extremely difficult to detect nuclear submarines, almost impossible. So acoustic signature. Then size and cost, of course, these are more expensive and heavier. Operational role, well, diesel electric submarines are generally, they operate close to your coastline for coastal defense. But if you want to travel to international waters, okay, close to Australian coast, then you need nuclear submarines, because they can stay submerged for longer periods of time. And crew and logistics, well, diesel electric can carry 30 to 50 people, but nuclear submarines are bigger. They can carry up to 100 people, because, well, you need them for long-term deployment. Okay, now what is the strategic advantage? I told you any navy that has submarines is in a more advantageous position. So what is the advantage? First of all, if your country has SSBN, this gives you second strike nuclear capability. This is a very important word to remember. What do you mean by second strike nuclear capability? Let's suppose China knows India has nuclear weapons, India has nuclear missiles, and China finds out the location of these missiles also. So without letting anyone know, China conducts the first attack, and it attacks all our nuclear missile sites. So on land, we have no nuclear weapons or no nuclear launch sites. But if we have SSBNs, we can strike back at China from sea. So this gives us second strike capability. And diesel variants offer cost-effective patrols. So for patrolling and all, cheaper submarine is diesel electric, so you can use it for that. Submarines play a critical role in military deterrence, reconnaissance, basically patrolling, and attack missions. India's Navy operates 17 diesel electric submarines and 3 SSBNs for regional security. Now, what submarines does India have? Well, India has Arihant class submarine. Okay, now remember, submarines that have similar technology are basically grouped into a particular class. So India has 2 nuclear SSBNs which belong to Arihant class. That is INS Arihant, INS Arighat. Okay, these are indigenously built. Then Kalvari. These are imported basically, and well, these are diesel electric. Okay, SSK, as you can see. Then Shishu Kumar, SSK. Sindhu Ghosh, SSK. Then there is Chakra, which is a nuclear submarine but not an SSBN. It is an SSN, which means that it is a nuclear submarine, but it does not carry nuclear missiles. So this is the list of nuclear assets, or sorry, submarine assets with Indian Navy. Clear? Simple? Okay. All right then. That would be all as far as the submarines are concerned. Now let's quickly shift our focus to next subtopic, and that is aircraft carriers. Okay. Another important asset that any navy would want to have to project their naval power is aircraft carriers. Aircraft carriers are those huge ships which even have a runway on top of them. So aircrafts can take flight from there. So these are somehow moving air bases on sea. Generally, air bases are fixed, but if you want to project power on the entire world, you need to have aircraft carriers. Suppose India wants to attack Turkey. Okay, let's suppose. Okay, we are just taking this assumption. So how can we attack Turkey using our fighter jets if our air bases are in India only? Well, we can shift our aircraft carriers close to Mediterranean Sea or Black Sea or anywhere else. And from there, we can launch aircrafts, fighter jets to attack Turkey or any other place for that matter, right? So aircraft carriers basically project your naval power. Many navies of the world do not have any aircraft carriers, but India does. And USA has the most aircraft carriers. Okay, so US Navy is the most powerful of them all. So let's talk about, well, aircraft carriers with India. Okay, so let me just stop this lecture for a few seconds because I want to share something really important. Look, along with this lecture series, you will also get notes, exhaustive notes, which you have to memorize. Then you will be enrolled in our WhatsApp groups where you can ask all your doubts, even the simplest of queries. And along with this lecture series, you will also be getting a test series, an exhaustive list of tests tailor-made for your UPSC Prelims 2026 examination. To register, to get access to notes, WhatsApp groups, and tests, you would have to register on our app or on our website. The links to both app and website are given in the comment section below. You just have to click on the link and it will take you to our registration page. So register for Prelims Powerplay 2026 because you have no idea how beneficial this lecture series is and you'll just be spending 1 hour of your day. So join now, click on the links given in the comment section below. So aircraft carriers. Now, here's the picture of an aircraft carrier. As you can see, it can carry multiple aircrafts and it has a runway. It's like basically taking an entire city on water. These are mobile air bases. All right. Now, about aircraft carriers, some facts about aircraft carriers. So, aircraft carriers serve as mobile air bases, like I said, projecting air power at sea through flight decks for launching and recovering aircraft. Okay. Landing. Recovering means landing. Now, aircraft carriers are very important for any navy because if you want to launch an operation far away from your ports, well, you need aircraft carriers. Okay, that is why navies also have aircrafts. Generally, people think that fighter jets are used by Air Force, but fighter jets are also used by Navy. Navy has fighter jet pilots. Indian Navy has fighter jet pilots. Okay, they enable strike missions, reconnaissance, that is patrolling and all, fleet defense meaning defending your other ships, forming the core of modern carrier strike groups. So if you want to strike into enemy territory, you carry this huge ship along with other ships as well. Okay. Nuclear reactors power most large ones. So large aircraft carriers require nuclear reactors for energy because nuclear energy produces a lot of energy. Okay. Providing unlimited range, while elevators and island superstructures. So the superstructure, the structure on this ship is managed through elevators and all. Not important. Armaments include missiles, close-in weapons for self-defense. Okay, so the weapons that are carried by these aircraft carriers. Now, what is important for us to know the types of aircraft carriers. Okay, so one is CATOBAR, catapult assisted takeoff but arrested recovery. So in this, well, the thing is that, well, for an aircraft, for a fighter jet to basically lift off, it needs a longer runway, okay, because it needs to reach that high speed. But this ship cannot offer that longer runway. So you have a catapult. You must have seen a catapult as kids, okay? So that catapult, on that catapult, you put the fighter jet and then basically you push it off so that it carries speed in that short runway and flies. So this particular type of aircraft carrier is possessed by US Navy. It is not with Indian Navy. Okay. Then STOVL, short takeoff, vertical landing. So short takeoff and the aircraft fighter jet lands vertically like a helicopter. Okay, INS Vikrant is like that. Okay, then helicopter carriers, amphibious assault ships, light escort carriers, these are some inferior aircraft carriers. The two big aircraft carriers are Catobar and STOBL or STOVL. Okay, now India has STOVL only. India does not have Catobar or anything else. Now, strategic significance, the importance of aircraft carriers, power projection. Okay, if you need to project your naval power, you just place your aircraft carrier into the enemy territory or close to the enemy territory. So if India wants to intimidate Pakistan or China, it will place its aircraft carrier close to the Karachi coast or close to South China Sea, right? That's how you project your power. US does it every time. Whenever it needs to fight anyone. So for example, it placed its aircraft carrier close to Persian Gulf to intimidate Iran. That's how you do it. Then operational flexibility. Unlike fixed airfields, carriers maneuver dynamically, complicating enemy targeting. Enemies can target air bases through missiles. But what about those air bases which can move around? This is what is offered by an aircraft carrier. Then deterrence and diplomacy. Okay, so if you want to intimidate your enemy, which was done by USA in 1971 war. USA was on Pakistan's side during 1971 war. It never wanted India to fight Pakistan. So it placed its aircraft carrier in Bay of Bengal to intimidate India. Luckily, Russia was on our side. But you understand how countries intimidate other countries using aircraft carriers. So aircraft carriers are important in that regard. Now the aircraft carriers with India. So India basically has two classes of aircraft carriers. Okay, INS Vikrant, indigenously built. It is a Stobar. INS Vikramaditya, which was taken from Russia. Okay, so these are the two aircraft carriers. One is in the pipeline. India basically wants 3 aircraft carriers. That's what is being projected or said by Indian Navy. Indian Navy has said that we require 3 aircraft carriers. One for the western coast of India in the Arabian Sea, one for the eastern coast in the Bay of Bengal, and one in reserve. So that if one of them requires repair, then you can use this reserve. So we need 3 aircraft carriers. And the third one is under construction, will be ready soon. Okay, so that's all you need to know as far as aircraft carriers are concerned. And now let's quickly shift our focus to third news item, and that is blue water capability. A navy is considered strong when it has blue water capability. Blue water capability means that it has assets that can travel to far off places in international waters, close to enemy territory. Okay, so if any navy has blue water capability, then that means that navy has a footprint. That navy can reach to enemy shores. India has blue water capability. Not many navies of the world have blue water capability. And that's because India has advanced submarines, fighter jets, frigates, and many other destroyers, ships. Okay, so let's talk about India's blue water capability and let's investigate this concept of blue water capability. Okay, so blue water capability. So what does it mean? Blue water capability means Navy's ability to operate globally in deep open oceans, projecting power far from home ports, seaports, requiring aircraft carriers, submarines, strong logistics for sustained long-range missions. Now, India is a blue water navy. Some navies are green water. Green water navies are those which operate in coastal and regional waters. So they operate close to their own coastal areas. These are green water. And then there is a very inferior kind of navy called brown water navy. They are very close to their coast, or they have so small ships that they can only operate in their deltas or rivers, very close to the shore. Okay, very inferior navy. Examples of blue water capability is your navy will have blue water capability if it has all these things: aircraft carriers in international water, nuclear submarines, amphibious warfare capability, and you conduct military exercises in international waters. And Indian Navy does that. So this is an example. Okay. Now, what are the key features of blue water navy? Long range operations, capability of long range operations, power projection. You have assets, fighter jets, aircraft carriers, submarines that project power. Okay, and key assets. Sea control, capability to control strategic maritime areas far from home. Your navy has the capacity to control those ocean areas which are not your territory or not close to your territory. So for example, if Indian Navy has the power to control sea routes close to Malaysia, and India does, it is a blue water navy. All right, makes sense? Clear? Now, well, let's talk about Indian Navy's command and control structure, because questions can be asked from this area also. It is part of blue water capability only. Okay, you need to be familiar with this. So the entire Indian Army, Indian Air Force is divided into commands. Similarly, Indian Navy is also divided into commands. There is Western Command, which takes care of Western Coast, Arabian Sea. There is Eastern Naval Command, which takes care of Bay of Bengal. And there is Southern Naval Command, which takes care of South Indian Ocean, or Indian Ocean basically, south of Kanyakumari. Now, Western Naval Command headquarters are in Mumbai, East is in Vishakhapatnam, South is in Kochi, and then there is Andaman and Nicobar Command, because it gives Indian Navy the ability to get close to China in South China Sea. That's why Andaman and Nicobar Islands are important. Okay, it gives Indian Navy a footprint in Southeast Asia, South China Sea. The command headquarters are in Port Blair. Okay, and these command headquarters are tri-services command. So Army and Air Force personnel are also there. Clear? That's about it. That's all you need to know as far as Indian Navy's blue water capability is concerned. All right. Now let's quickly shift our focus to last topic, and we won't talk much about this last topic. Okay, and that is miscellaneous. Now the thing is, please, well, in your notes, I have mentioned some information. Okay, I have put in some information, which is basically some important current affairs, some important schemes, projects that are related to India's naval assets. Okay, so for example, there is Project 75I, which is manufacturing of diesel electric submarines. Then India Maritime Vision. These are some topics of the current affairs that are important for you to know. Okay, there is no understanding required. That is why I'm not discussing them in today's lecture, but you need to remember certain facts related to them. That is why I'm only giving them in your notes. But that doesn't mean that you don't have to memorize these things, these miscellaneous topics from your notes. So cover them from your notes. And in case you have any doubts, well, you have access to me through our WhatsApp groups. You can anytime ask these doubts if you don't understand anything what is written in the notes. Okay? And that would be all. With that, we conclude today's session. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. I'm sure about it. Just be consistent with it, okay? But, well, do not forget to memorize everything that we have discussed from the notes and the extra material, and ask your doubts. And be prepared for the test, okay? Do not ignore the test. On that note, I'll be signing off with the promise of seeing you again with another topic in this lecture series called Prelims Powerplay. Thank you, everyone.